Hello everybody, this is Mr. Storm. Today I'm going to show you the last couple of advanced Bootstrap things that I want you to see for this term, and then I will give you the remainder after you finish this week. You'll have weeks 7 and 8 to complete your final project because it's going to be a big one, and I want to make sure you have plenty of time to work on that. But for now, let's talk about some things. I have five new things that I want to show you, and I think you'll see that these are pretty powerful things that we can use on our web pages and make them look really cool. So the first thing I want to show you is called Scroll Spy. Scroll Spy is a plugin that allows us to have some navigation that looks like this. For example, our website might be sectioned off into in different sections, basically one scrolling, one big long page, right? And we have our navigation bar up top. Well, while we scroll, once we get to a different section, our navigation bar will update its active button based on where we are, right, in the page. And that's pretty great, right? That's a good behavior. I love that behavior. Scroll Spy is amazing for that kind of website. And basically the way you implement it is this. First of all, you would want to create a scrollable area. So on the body of your web page, you want to designate that as the scrollable area. Okay, and then you want to have a data spy is going to be called scroll. You have a data target, which is going to be your nav bar, and then your offset will be 50 or so. And then you set a navigation bar, you set your nav bar, and that class is going to be nav bar, inverse nav bar, fixed top. We did the nav bars last. And then you create the rest of your nav bar. And then down here you have section 1, section 2, so on and so forth, and you just set those IDs to be individual sections. And you would set that this whole div would be section 1 ID, and then up here you could see we have that linking to the section 1 ID as well. So when I click section 1, it takes me to section 1. When I click section 3, it takes me to section 3, so on and so forth. So it's pretty easy to create a Scroll Spy website, and they look really nice, especially on mobile. This looks pretty good on mobile as well. You can also create a vertical menu with your Scroll Spy. You can have a vertical menu on the side and scroll through your content. That doesn't look as good to me as the top menu, but it's up for personal preference essentially. Let's take a look at a fix. A fix is a plugin that allows us to essentially what we can do is we can have a fixed nav bar at the top, but above it we can have a header or some header content with the web page information. So we'd have our web page header up here, and then as we scroll down, the nav bar scrolls with the content, and then when it reaches the page, it stays there at the top of the page, which is pretty great. Here's another example of what that might look like with a side nav bar. So, and essentially that's, the way you do that is, let's go to, where's the code for this? Oh, you would just set the nav class with a data spy affix instead of scroll spy, or instead of scroll. So that's the way you do that. It's pretty easy. And there's a bunch of stuff here that explains exactly what's going on behind the scenes. Let's talk about media objects. So media objects like videos or pictures, they can actually be aligned properly within certain objects a lot easier with Bootstrap. So we can align a media object by setting the class as media and then setting it as a media left, media body, media right, whatever we want. And that will allow us to do something cool like this, where we have pictures of people and then, right next to content about them. And again, we can do this with videos. We can do this with pictures. We can nest media objects inside other objects as well. So it's it's a pretty cool tool that we have available to us. Let's take a look at Carousel. Carousel plugins will usually causes a lot of pain and heartache if we're trying to do this just with JavaScript. But because we have the Carousel plugin with Bootstrap, we can actually just implement it pretty easily to create a cool looking, scrolling image gallery or whatnot. So carousels are pretty easy. We just create a new div called My Carousel. The class is Carousel slide. Um, and then we have our ordered list here that has the individual slide numbers on them. And then we have our wrapper information here. This is basically the images themselves and the text. Then we have our buttons here for the controls. Okay. And we can add captions to the slides as well. Here's an example of how to do that. So Carousel is pretty awesome. Let's take a look at the last thing I need you to know about Bootstrap, and this is called Modal. Basically, what a modal does is it allows you to pop a window on top of your main window whenever something is clicked. So I'm going to click this button here. So now I have this menu that popped up on top of my main screen once I clicked the modal. And notice how it grayed out everything else behind it. I'm going to click close. So modals are awesome, especially for things like you want to alert your user that, hey, something just happened, right? And so here's the way it works. So we have a trigger. The trigger is what's going to make the modal actually happen. Usually it's a button of some sort. So we have a button here that will open a modal. And then we have the modal itself, which is going to be the content that pops up whenever you open up or whenever you click that button. The modal has a couple of buttons in it. It has buttons to close out the modal. Um, things like that. You put your content inside the modal. And it's really nice because again, this is something that we can do with JavaScript, but Bootstrap lets us do it pretty much right away. There's not a lot of complicated programming involved in creating a modal. So that's another benefit to using JavaScript. And again, there's a bunch of stuff down here explaining how to use that. All right, so that was quite a bit of stuff. This wasn't as long as my normal videos because I'm not going to go through and build these for you. What I want you to do is practice playing around with these things, see how you can fit them into certain websites. When you're cruising around the internet, see if you can find examples of these out there in the wild, if you will. Hopefully by now, if you've gone through Web Development 1 and now you're in Web Development 2 and you finish looking at Bootstrap, hopefully by now you're actually starting to see some of these concepts you're learning popping up everywhere around you. I mean, if we look at the w3schools.com page, we can see that they're using an affix here because we have our header content up here at the top. As I scroll down, it scrolls and this menu actually sticks to the top of the page. See, it's pretty amazing, right? We also have side navigation over here as well. But, you know, start looking for these examples out in the wild because the more you can find and identify these things and the more you think about how you can use them in your own projects, the better web developer you're going to be. So I'm going to cut this short. I'm not going to ramble on too much. For the next couple of weeks, you will essentially be on your own, right? After this video, no more videos for the rest of the term. I will get back into teaching you more next term when we get into JavaScript. But right now, you have all the tools you need to finish out this term strong. Again, rely on W3 Schools to guide you through this content. If you get stuck, you can always come find me, always come talk to me, send me an email, grab me in class, whatever you need to do. I'm always here to help. So that's it for me. Thank you very much for paying attention, and I will see you next time.